Hi, this is group number 3 for Systems Analysis and Design Spring 2025, and we are presenting on Bobcat Lost and Found Hub. Now we're going to meet the team.
Hi, everyone. My name is Genesis Williams.
My name is Hailey Normandia.
And I'm Marie Obsitnik.
And I'm Savannah Parris.
All right, so for our project overview, we had one goal, which is to modernize and streamline the lost and found process at Georgia College and State University. We noticed from our personal observations and from campus interviews that there's currently an outdated and very manual process for lost and found, and often people are unable to claim their items or report things missing. So to solve that, we want to digitize the tracking and claims process, which allows students and staff to report their lost items, browse lost items, and then make claims to those lost items all in a centralized digital location. To do this, we started off with interviewing some of our users that would be using the Bobcat Lost and Found Hub. The first contact we had was Katie Smith. She's an administrative assistant, and she's currently involved with the lost and found process at the library. So we also talked to Jada Warren, who is a student and a student athlete at Georgia College, and she shared her frustrations of losing items in the past and gave us suggestions on how to make the system better for students to use.
For the analysis of business documents, we looked at existing documentation and software that Georgia College currently uses, and we used those documents to collect information for our Lost and Found Hub. On the first document that we reviewed was the Georgia College Library Guide webpage, and it states the process of retrieving lost items that are found in the library, such as contacting the circulation desk, contacting public safety, or the Bobcat card office. To start our process of brainstorming our application, we participated in a design thinking workshop. This is a collaborative and problem-solving session where we understand the user's needs, generate ideas, and develop solutions. We discussed the first 3 stages out of the 5 in design thinking, which are empathize, define, and ideate. To determine our system requirements, we conducted interviews and reviewed existing business documents, as mentioned in the previous slides. So these are a list of our functional requirements. These are considered our usable and interactive elements. These requirements describe the specific functions of the system and what the system does for the user. So for example, user interface, having an interface that is easy to use and aesthetically pleasing. Next slide. These are our non-functional requirements. These specify how the system performs and basically how the system does what it does. So for example, we have data security, making sure all students and staff's data and information are secured. We also have reliability, making sure the system is dependable, minimizing errors of misplaced or unclaimed items.
So based off of those requirements, we constructed a context diagram to show the external entities and how they connected to the system. So you'll have things like claim information. So when a student puts in a claim, then it'll go through the system. They'll have an item acceptance ability where a library staff and a student will be able to say that they accepted the item that was filed into the system. They'll also get a notification whether there's a selected match. And then you'll also have a security feature of identify verification. So you want to make sure that the person who's getting the item is the correct person. So from there, we've created the level 0 data flow diagram. So this shows you the inner workings of how the system's going to work. So you'll start off with, logging in. If you've lost it or if you found an item, you'll file a report where you turned it in. Then you'll go through the system. It can either be matched. The library staff will also have to log in, and input the item details. We also have a feature to where it's all getting stored in different databases. So you'll have user claim data, found item data, lost item data, which will all be interconnected, that you'll see in the next slide with when we go to our entities. Next slide. So for the ERD, we wanted to lay out how the database was going to look. So you'll have about 4 different tables: the user table, the lost item table, user claim, and found item. So then we filled in the data dictionary, kind of going into detail about what each attribute is. So we laid out the user, lost item, found item, user claim, and what each of them were, the description of what it was, and if it's a primary key, foreign key, how it's related to each of the tables.
Okay, so this is just kind of an idea of what our user interface would look like, just for a user, like basically the app of what a student or faculty member would see. So the first thing you have is like the login, where you would sign in, and then you'd be brought to the home page where there'll be 3 options to choose from. 1 to be browse your found item, 2 to report a lost item, and then 3, the claims that you've already claimed through that found item page. The third page gives you kind of an idea of like your recently searched found items, but then also you can break it down into different categories like electronics, clothing, accessories, etc. And then the fourth one could be like the ID, like the actual item, the found item description, just so someone has more of a gist of what is this item, what does it look like. And then another thing could be the lost item report. So what did you lose? A person can report the item name, when they lost it, the location, and the description. And then they also can upload a picture just to so people know exactly what it is. Next slide, please. And then throughout this whole semester project, we followed the SDL LC lifecycle, which is the system development lifecycle, where we used all 4 of these besides the last one. And this is just kind of like the progress summary. We did pretty much phase 1, 2, and 3. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do phase 4 just because we're not actually launching it. But if we were, we would run it, we would go live, and then we'd also experiment and test it just to see what it's actually doing as a whole. And then lastly, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you learned something, and we hope this has turned out to be a useful tool at Georgia College.